the kits, both standard and metric. They're in
This
the
is
green
Mission
and
Control
red,
Houston. Welcome to today's ISS update. It is Tuesday, September the 4th, 2012. This is a live view inside the International Space Station Flight Control Room here at the Johnson Space Center. It has been an extremely busy holiday weekend for the team here in Mission Control and also the Expedition 32 crew on board the International Space Station as they get ready for yet another spacewalk that will take place tomorrow. Of course, last week, their crew, specifically Sonny Williams and Aki Hoshide, had a marathon spacewalk outside the International Space Station, clocking in at 8 hours and 17 minutes. The crew was attempting to install a brand new main bus switching unit. This is one of the big four boxes that's on the outside of the station that helps route power from the solar arrays to different parts of the station. They encountered some trouble with a sticky bolt on the bottom side of the new unit, so that installation was called off and that device was temporarily stored up there on its mounting location while the teams here in Houston spent the entire weekend taking a look at what could be causing the issue with that bolt and also coming up with a plan for tomorrow's spacewalk. The crew will venture back outside tomorrow beginning at 6:15 a.m. Central Time, 7:15 a.m. Eastern Time. The spacewalk will last 6.5 hours. The main focus of it is, of course, to get that main bus switching unit installed back down on what's called a cold plate. That is where it is mounted. The teams here in Houston did spend several hours over the weekend taking a look at a model of that main bus switching unit and the bolt that's on the bottom of it. They came up with a plan for the crew to basically do an extremely detailed cleaning job on both the post where that bolt is going to be driven into and the bolt itself. Drew Feustel, who you see there in the photo, as well as Mike Fossum and Dave Wolf, all three of them veteran astronauts, station visitors as well, and veteran spacewalkers, were there with the engineers coming up with a plan for the crew, coming up with a choreography for what is to take place tomorrow. And they feel like they've got a good shot at getting this main bus switching unit actually installed tomorrow during the 6.5-hour spacewalk. There is a bingo time in the middle of the spacewalk at about the 4-hour mark that if the crew is not able to get this main bus switching unit installed by that point in time, they will begin the process of actually cleaning it up and moving it back inside the Quest airlock, where it will be taken back inside the station for some more extensive operation and mechanics that'll be done to that box if they cannot have success by the 4-hour mark. If things go according to plan, as we talked about, the crew will have a series of handmade, improv tools that they will be using, sort of a toothbrush, a wire cleaner, some other items to clean out the post and the bolt that'll be driven down into the bottom side of that box and the station itself. They'll also be driving a brand new bolt if they need to. That'll hopefully clean up that area and get that main bus switching unit secured down to the station and back up and operational. So again, NASA TV coverage tomorrow at 5 a.m. Central Time, 6 a.m. Eastern Time. The spacewalk will begin at 6:15 a.m. Central Time, 7:15 a.m. Eastern Time here on NASA television. A couple of other issues to talk to you about on Saturday. There was another error on board the International Space Station as what is called a direct current switching unit, or DCSU, remote bus isolator, or RBI, suffered a trip. This is on one of the station's solar arrays. There are 4 of those big giant wings outside the station. Each one of them has 2 channels assigned to it. 2 of them have already been taken down, what's called the 1A and 1B, because of this main bus switching unit issue. But another one on the 3A array, which is on the starboard truss assembly, suffered a power trip. They do not know exactly what caused it, but it did shut off that power channel as things got rerouted to other parts of the station. So out of the 8 channels of power on the International Space Station come from those big giant solar arrays, 3 of them are suffering some challenges right now as we speak. So they're taking a look at that to figure out exactly how that needs to be reset. And of course, this is unrelated to the issue we've been talking about with the main bus switching unit. Also this morning, one of the thermal valves inside the Tranquility node, or node 3 as we call it here at NASA, did suffer a failure. They're taking a look at that. It is stuck in the closed position, as they call it. But again, this is part of the cooling system inside Tranquility. And the thermal experts here in Mission Control are taking a look at that to figure out exactly how they can get it opened back up. The crew today has half of an off-duty day, which this is standard and traditional anytime they're getting ready to do a spacewalk the next day. So they've been extremely busy over the weekend getting these tools ready to go for tomorrow's activities. Both Joe Akaba and Aki Hoshide have what's called a robot session where they will just practice the maneuvers that will take place tomorrow as Hoshide once again gets on the end of the station's arm to position himself sort of at the top and the bottom side of this main bus switching unit, so he has a little bit easier access. So he'll be on the end of the arm while Joe Akaba helps fly it, along with some ground commanding that'll be done. So they're running through that. The U.S. crew members also have a procedure review coming up here shortly where they will take a look at the extensive procedures that were written for them over the weekend by the spacewalk team. Of course, the spacewalk officer, Keith Johnson, who was on console last week, he'll be on again tomorrow. He and his team have been busy writing the script and the choreography for tomorrow's activities. That was sent up to the crew earlier. So they're going to be looking at that and getting ready to go. And then Sunny and Aki are finishing up the tool configurations for tomorrow as well. They really are putting together several different tools that will be used tomorrow, including a toothbrush, which is exactly what it sounds like. It's just a red toothbrush that they have put some tape around on the end, sort of a wand that'll be used to clean the post and the bolt itself. They also have a wire cleaner, it looks just like it does here on Earth, that they have mocked up. And they'll be using that to hopefully solve this issue that we saw. So the first step in the spacewalk tomorrow will be to remove the MBSU from the cold plate that it is currently sitting on. It was temporarily tied down with a tether at the end of the spacewalk last week when it became clear that it was not going to be successful in terms of bolting it down. You're seeing a graphic here of the green side on the left side. That is the MBSU number 1 on the truss itself. That handhold piece of metal there that's on the right-hand side, that is what that MBSU is currently tied onto with that strap you see there indicated in red. So they're going to remove it with what's called a torque multiplier. If you watched the spacewalk last week, you saw the silver pistol grip tool, which is basically the astronaut's drill that they use. There's a torque multiplier that they put on the end of it that they will use to actually unbolt this big box, which weighs about 220 pounds, from the cold plate. So they'll take a look at it. You see the actual picture of it there. They'll take a look at it, inspect it. They'll lubricate the actual post, which is on the cold plate itself. That's what the bolt goes into. There's 2 different ones of those. One's called H1, one's called H2. You see the one on the left and H2 there on the right. So they will lubricate H1, clean the H2 post, which is where they saw some of the issues, with a wire brush. They'll lubricate it, basically put some grease on it, with a toothbrush, and then they will thread in a brand new bolt to hopefully clean out the threads that are inside there. This that you see right there is the actual bottom side of the MBSU itself. That large, what looks like a funnel or a siphon, whatever it may be, that's just called a fine alignment guide. That actually helps the bolt go into the post itself because obviously it's on the bottom. The astronauts can't get up under there and take a look at it, so they need some physical and visual guides to help bolt that entire box down. But you see the screw there in the middle.
Copy.
So they've got another Acme bolt that they will try that they've scavenged from another location. And then they will try a few different techniques, sort of rocking the box back and forth and also increasing the torque step by step, which is very similar to what they did last week, to see if any of these techniques do work. So again, there's a 4-hour bingo time in the middle of the spacewalk that if this box is not installed by that point in time, they will switch tactics and begin the process of moving it back inside the Quest airlock for further action. In addition to the spacewalk choreography, the team has also come up with what's called a crib sheet, which is typical of any spacewalk. Basically, it's if-then document, meaning that if this happens or if this doesn't work, then they try all these different techniques that are already prescribed out for them. This document for tomorrow is about 15 pages long, so these teams here on the ground in Houston have gone through pretty much any imaginable scenario that the 2 crew members could face tomorrow, and have some really good instructions on what the crew needs to do to tackle those issues if they do present themselves. But again, the spacewalk is due to last 6.5 hours. There's a 4-hour mark in the middle of it that is sort of our line in the sand, for lack of a better word, that if this box is not installed by that point in time, they'll call it off and move it inside the Questar lock and move on to some other items. So again, 5 o'clock a.m. Central Time is when our spacewalk coverage will begin. 6 a.m. Eastern Time. The spacewalk itself will begin at 6:15 a.m. Central Time, 7:15 a.m. Eastern Time, and it'll last about 6.5 hours.